Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. What we're going to talk about today, guys, is September tricks and tips and tricks, I guess you could say. Um, it's kind of there's just so much going on, right? Some states are not open yet. Some states are going to be open within maybe this week. There was some opening, and then the Midwest and the northern states are October 1st. So there's just this kind of a plethora, I guess you could say, of different strategies and things you should be doing. And some stuff pertains to some folks, some things don't. But when I put these lists together here, guys, it's kind of whether you're in season or not, I think there's a lot to be said for looking at something like this and making sure that if you are in season, some of this is going to pertain to you. In season mentality. If you're not in season and you're creeping up on it, some of this is going to pertain to you so you don't create an issue before your season even starts. So let's dive right into this one, guys. Trail camera placement. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now with trail cameras. And you know my history and my background and my struggle on trying to find the right trail camera. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. But on the technical side of it, on the things that maybe that we can control, right? Trail camera placement and card pulls is what I have this labeled. So this one here, guys, it's probably ever so important to make sure that your trail cameras obviously are in the right place, so you're getting the right inventory, but more so of the place where it's at. As you know, I'll kind of touch on that real quick. Won't spend a lot of time on that, but you look back at other videos and do a deep dive into my thoughts on that. But the placement, I put my cameras, guys, in July, 4th of July, where I'm going to actually be hunting. I don't have any need to know where these bucks are all the time during the summer and they're just out on a beautiful food plot, or they're out on the corner of ag and that ag leaves and the deer aren't there. I want to know how they're frequenting an area, how much he's frequenting an area that I can hunt, a spot that I can hunt. So, we won't go down that rabbit hole on this one, but what I'm talking about here today is the placement itself. If you have moved a camera, or if a camera's been there and you've had any inkling and inclination that something has busted, maybe I guess is the word, or seen that, now's the time when you got to go in and replace batteries if they're not on solar panels, something like that. Make sure you're putting that thing. I'm 6'6", guys, and I hang mine at my head or just above. I mean, they've got to be, every time I see, and there's so many, we'll just use the celebrity word, that put them cameras down 2 foot off the ground. And guys, they see them 6 foot in the air. I don't, plus one, you got vegetation and everything in front of them. It just doesn't make sense, but don't hang them low. So I recommend moving that to a safe location. In other words, a safe spot that is not going to be picked off. And so one of the things to look at, guys, is you'll hear a lot of folks don't like to put the trail camera looking up a trail or down a trail. And I understand the theory behind that. I've never had a problem with that. I actually encourage that. But the theory is so they're not looking at it coming into it, and they're not looking at it going away from it. It's more of an inline vision thing, and there's a lot of truth to that. But if you're right square to a trail, you better hope that you have a wide angle, because this time of the year and on, when they start running through those locations, you might get them and you might not. So make sure that placement's right. Kind of make sure that you're looking up and down a trail, but you're not right in the eye, right in the movement. What I try to do, guys, is I try to make sure. So let's finish up the placement thing. I try to make sure that my cameras, and I can't always do this, right? The perfect world, you're placing your cameras to the north, facing the north. But it kind of, I dictate that. The way I look at that is where my access is. So I'm looking at my access, my tree stand, then my camera, then the line of travel that I'm hunting. I try to go above and beyond, not to go across that, unless I absolutely have to, and the camera's triggering and being a nuisance, if you will, with the sun and stuff, looking to the south or the east or west or whatever the case is. And the reason for that, guys, is when that camera, something happens, right? craps out, if you will. Batteries, card, whatever the case is, you got to go in and get that. You're interrupting that situation that you've tried to keep clean and keep scent off them and stuff, and you're going back and forth over it. So if you can, that's what I recommend. This portion of this right here, guys, is more important than this to me. I see so many folks in September, in October, depending on when your season opens. To be honest with you, I hang mine, like I said, July 4th weekend, right? Most of them are out. I've got cameras on the property all the time, but that's when my force is deployed. And from that time on, guys, unless I can get to that spot with a buggy, I do not, if there's something I've got to walk from the buggy into, or I've got to walk down a fence line to get to, or something like that, do not just go in and pull those cards if you wouldn't go to that same spot and hunt that location with the right wind during season. And I think that I see that time and time and time again. It's like we try to keep the wind out of the core. We're trying to keep not blowing scent into areas, but when we're hunting, but when we're going to pull trail cameras, we're blowing our scent into there, and we don't care. Huge, huge, huge mistake in my book. I try to do whatever I can to avoid that situation. So to make an X point on that, right? Big exclamation point on that is just make sure if you got to go in there, look at the wind, look at the weather. Try to do it on a nasty day if you can. Card pulls, fixing the batteries, the solar panels, whatever the case is. If that's a west wind stand, don't go in and get that stuff on an east wind. If you wouldn't hunt that stand on that wind, why in the world are you going in there and putting your scent in there, pulling the camera? Just my 2 cents. Let's jump to the next one. Cover scents, routines, feeders, and times. So this one here, guys, is something that I really encourage you in this September time period. So if you're in season, or if this pertains to you in an October opener, or a October hunting season, this one here, guys, what I highly recommend. So I really started focusing in on this years ago when I was tapping into the world of bear hunting, for example. It was I knew this, right, but it was kind of like I need to start putting more emphasis on this. And what I'm saying is if you ever have been on a bear hunt, a baited bear hunt, let's say, and them guys go in and drop bait in there, it's the same guy, the same machine, the ones that care about what they're doing. It's the same machine, same guy, same bug spray, because then you get there to hunt. And what, I was sitting in a stand one night thinking about this is, you get there with a different bug spray, and they're like, no, you got to use our bug spray. And the reason for that is, guys, is they get accustomed to that scent. So where I'm going with that is, if you are going to be the only one hunting the property, or you're going to be, let's say, your kids, I'd highly recommend getting those kids out there at some point. And the reason for that is, guys, every one of us smells different. There's so much overlooked stuff. Every one of us smells different. The skin particles that flake off, and it's that whole theory that you hear 28 days, 30 days, whatever that is when we all become snakes, and our skin starts, our follicles and stuff start to skin cells, I guess is the word, right, start to shed. All that stuff's got that scent in it. These deer know who you are. They know the difference between the guy that fills the feeder and the guy that's never been on the property and the guy that's hunting. They know the difference. Don't let anybody tell you different. So get into a system where if you're going to be the one hunting it, you're going to be on the property. Make sure you're not changing something midstream, right? Not changing a cover scent, or no, don't start. That's something else we're going to touch on right here. But don't start putting coyote urine and coon urine and skunk urine, guys. Those scents, a lot of those are an alarm in their world, right? It'd be no different than you walking into your house 28 out of 30 days of the month, and on the 29th day, let's say, you walk into your house and you smell smoke. It's a trigger, right? Okay, maybe you didn't smell something that you smelt before, but it's a trigger. It means harm to us. It alerts us. Why in the world would you put skunk urine or coyote urine or something on your boots? It's not covering up the human scent, because the deer are, is it 6, is it 8 different things that they can smell? I don't know what that number is, right? You hear all kinds of different things, but it's way more than just focusing on one. So you're not getting rid of the human scent. All you're doing is you're creating another issue. Um, excuse me. So here, one thing to look at, guys, is the feeders and the times. If you're going to fill your feeders, try to make sure that you're doing it on a routine, right? If you're not in a state that can feed, then you don't have to worry about that, right? But if there's anything that you have to do, any card pulls, anything like that, try to put it on a routine in a timely manner. And I think that you'll be shocked. Maybe it's a training feature. They know that there's feed there. They know when you're going to get in, you're going to get out. Make sure that you're doing that. But the big problem arises is when we're focusing on PM hunts, which we're going to touch on here, and you go to take an ATV into the farm at 3 o'clock when normally you were in the farm at noon, and at 2 or 3 o'clock, let's say you're going out to hunt and you drive to the back of the farm and you shut that thing off, they know something's up. It might not blow them out of there, but it's going to alarm them to a point like, you know what? Maybe I stand up and I bed back down that last time when I normally would have got up and went to a water source or a food plot or something like that. I'm going to creep up toward dark a little bit more just because something's in my world, right? Sounds goofy. Put yourself in their shoes. So if you're going to do that, I highly recommend having somebody take you in and drive the buggy back out, drop you off. You're in the stand, you're leaving, so they're seeing it leave. Another thing is that this e-bike world that we're in, guys, opens up the doors to so many things. Run that e-bike in. Maybe they hear a rock or something, but they're not rocks, crumbling on the way in or whatever the case is, golf cart or whatever. But they're not making the connection of there's an ATV or UTV going in, a truck, different noise, different sound at a different time, and you're shutting that buggy off. They know you're there somewhere, somehow. That thing didn't leave, right? So yeah, take that into consideration. Evening hunts, your hunt totals. So, and I got the big X here that we're going to talk about. So this time of the year, guys, so I'm on hunt number 2. I've hunted 2 evenings and I get so much kickback from that. I'm going to share something with you in here. I get so much kickback that this time of the year is I just don't hunt enough, or I rely too much on my trail cameras, and that's not the case. If I took my trail cameras completely off the farm, I still wouldn't be hunting mornings in September, period. You couldn't get me to do it. Now, unless there's a major cold front comes in or something out of the ordinary that I could say, this is probably the best morning of the month because it's 30 degrees cooler or something like that. Maybe there's something to be said for it. How you do that, or how I would make that decision, is if that deer that you're hunting, or a deer that you wanted to harvest this year, or that you're targeting, let's say, right, isn't a deer that's normally there in September in the mornings from your trail camera information from last year, don't go in there. If he's showing up in October, focus on the October cold front that's coming. Why are you in there in September, right? Not saying that you couldn't get, a surprise buck or something like that. I guess the whole moral of the story, you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. Let them play their cards. Let him tell the story. Maybe it was last year. Maybe you're just, you're honing in on a certain date for this year. Take that into consideration. So AM hunts is the X. I always ask folks this, and then I'm going to touch on something here. I always get asked that, or I always ask folks this: what's your number of hunts? And I'm just going to throw this out there. We were or September 3rd, 4th, whatever the opener was this year here in Kentucky, and there's a lot of folks that have a dozen, 15, 16 hunts in already, and we're, I'm filming this on like the 16th or 17th or whatever it is today. So by the time you see this, it's probably creeping up on the 20th. And there's some guys that are 50%, some folks in general that are 50%, 20-day season, let's say. We've hunted 10 days already. That's a huge red flag for me, guys. Way too much pressure. That means you're hunting your days that aren't the best days to be hunting. I can go back, and whether that's DeerCast that you're following, an algorithm, HuntWise, whatever that case is, I can go back on past weather, on Weather Underground, whatever the case is, and I can tell you let's say we opened up the 3rd or 4th or whatever it was, and then now if you're viewing this on, let's say, the 20th, 17 days. Let's just use 17 days. I guarantee you that there isn't 8, 9 days uh, that month that were excellent days, and I can guarantee you that there wasn't enough excellent days in there to make it be a morning hunt. So I'm not saying don't hunt. I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not saying go out there. It's the time that we wait for all year, but there's so much more to come. There's so much more higher percentage opportunities, better weather. It's an early fall, guys. Separate video. It's an early fall, right? We're going to have some good weather. Is the rut going to be early by the day? No, but are you able to see some of that stuff? Take some advantage of some good weather coming. Absolutely. Don't ruin it. Don't mess up the dinner plate before you even get a chance to sit at the dinner table, right? So really take that one to heart. Food plot inspections. Right now, guys, is the time when you are going to get the cameras or you are going out to fill feeders. Right now is the time to like I said, be real honest with yourself and real look deep dive into those food plots. I'm doing the same here. We were stricken by a bunch of dry weather. A lot of folks around the country have been, and that food plot inspection is huge right now. If you even think that it's a little light, or maybe your looks like it's okay, you look down the road, right? What's there when those leave? If there's a lot of focus on that, a lot of them plants out there right now, guys, are high in moisture content. So not only is it dry, not only did some of the plots didn't grow because of the weather. I've got my thatch and mine hung on a little bit longer, but even then, I think I even lost some during that window, and they look totally different now. They're really gaining speed, momentum, but I still dose mine with the rye. So on average, depending on what you got planted in there, I'd recommend that 100 to 150 pounds, maybe more, of rye per acre. Not ryegrass, cereal rye, right? We've got a test out here that we're doing, some things we're looking into that we've got here going on the farm. I've got some test buckets going on, or pots, I guess you could say, and the rye growth is it just blows your mind, right? In an area where the deer aren't picking on it, it's here in a rock garden that I've got next to the house, and you just look at that and you just look at the volume of food that thing makes. I've got like almost 2 inches of growth a day right now, so it's crazy. So don't overlook the power of the rye, like we always say. Really inspect those. Be honest. It's saving. It might save the power of the plot now. It's going to give them deer food. It's going to be even more so important. It's going to help them recover from the rut. It's going to be the first thing that greens up. You're going to have an excellent spot to turkey hunt over. And if you're planning my system in that a no-till approach with a planting a cover crop and then crimping and stuff like that, you need that rye in the spring. So make sure it's there. Moral of the story, right? This one right here, guys, PM water holes, right? PM water hole hunts. Boy, I'm telling you, this year, and I say this a lot, but more so now than ever, the last few years, guys, if there is a way, if there's a will, there's a way, right? If there's a way to set up something or implement a spot that you can AM and PM hunt over a water source, but especially PM hunts to take advantage of this heat. Later in the season, like I always said, if you didn't know what day it was, and your camera started sending you a bunch of pictures, and the buck movement and stuff blows up on these water holes, you could probably say we're creeping up on the pre-rut, right? Or there's a lot more motion pre-rut and rut. Now they're using it because of the heat, right? They're shedding that summer coat, getting that thick coat on, and they're needing water, right? Their body weights, every part of the country is different as far as what deer weigh, right? But the body weight is gaining. They're healthy. They haven't shed off a bunch of weight running around. So bucks and does, guys. I've got 4 water holes on my farm, 3 of which are 150-gallon tanks. To tell you how much they're using water, I filled them 3 times over 30 days. So some in August, some in September. Over a 30-day period, I filled them 3 times. And if we don't get some rain here quick, I'm going to be doing it again. So they're a huge attraction. Don't overlook that. It's I couldn't stress that more, guys. if you asked my honest opinion and you said water hole or food plot, water hole. It's not even a question, right? So don't overlook that opportunity. Another thing to tie to that, guys, I'm going to put that on here, and I hate even writing this on here. That abbreviation, boy, blue tongue, EHD. Kentucky has got a problem right now, and it just filtered in. The state actually just released some counties, and thank the Lord we haven't seen a lot of it, but the Midwest got hit again this year. And like I said, guys, this water hole system that we speak of, not only is it an attraction, not only are you doing a lot for the deer, not only are you giving them, that water source, but you can keep them water areas so clean. They're not watered up. They're not muddied up around them. You don't have to worry about that pond and that liner, raising lower. You don't have to worry about the mud crack and the midge getting in there. And here we go. I'm not going to go down a rant hole here, but here you go. It's an infection, guys. It's in the midge, right? So I'm telling you right now, if you look into the swarm factor of bugs, if you're in a state like Kentucky and Illinois and Iowa gets hit, guess what? Especially Western Kentucky, them big west winds start coming. We get them big westerly winds pushes. Guess what? They're all coming this way, and sooner or later, it's going to show up. And here we are. Had some fronts from the west come in, and it's been dry. And guess what? Now we've got EHD. The state of Illinois should be ashamed of themselves as far as the legislature. They're saying that you can't put in a water tank because it's an attractant, but you can dig a pond, and that's perfectly legal, or you can dig a water hole and hunt over it. That's perfectly legal, but you can't put a tank in the ground, heaven forbid. Yeah, crazy. So, like I said, don't, if it's, I'm not saying you're in a state that it's illegal, obviously don't do anything illegal, but somebody needs, we need as a force to go after that situation to make that problem better. So can you pull the plug on every water source in Illinois or Iowa? Absolutely not. Michigan's getting hit. Southern Michigan, no, but don't add fuel to the fire, right? If you have a spot on there, I've got one up here that I pulled a drain plug on for a couple of reasons. One, they're watering out of it, and it's behind a stand and a big water source, and I didn't want it there, so I pulled the plug on it, right? Until I can figure out if I'm going to fence it off or whatever the case is. But the biggest thing to me was it exposes so much dry, cracked nonsense, mud. So if you have them on your farms, guys, kind of ending the rant, if you have them on your farm, neighbors that have them, get a mini excavator, get a shovel, whatever you got to do, put a fence around that thing, get them gone. Everybody does a little bit. We can change something big, maybe just get them gone, right? So really, really focus on that. Fill them in, cut a trench, dry them out, whatever the case is. Get that water source gone. Go to them 300 gallon. All of my 150s this next year are getting switched to 300s. So this one right here, guys, opening day hunt, October openers are fast approaching, right? As you can tell, when I started talking about the Kentucky opener, I didn't say October 3rd. I still don't know what the opener was. So because I wasn't worried about it. I mean, if I was in the intention of shooting a velvet buck, then maybe I would have had more focus on that. Obviously, I didn't start hunt until last week, so it wasn't a concern of mine. I get it. I really get it. So we're not talking about a rifle season opener where you need to be in the woods during the opening day of the gun season, because things are going to get pushed around, and you probably have a better chance just because of raw number of stuff getting bumped. You need to be in the woods opening day of a gun season. You don't need to be in the woods opening day of a archery season. So take that into consideration, guys. Are you doing more harm by hunting an opening day just because it's opening day? Really focus on. I mean, I can tell you 10 situations right here within 20 miles of me that everybody was in the stand opening day. Maybe it's because they were targeting a velvet buck, but a lot of them were in the woods in the morning. A lot of them still haven't harvested a buck. It's just this. So right now, I'm going to share something with you. This whole piece of this puzzle right here, the reason I'm talking about this is right now it's this huge lull in the state of Kentucky, September. Well, guess what? It's 2 weeks after our opener, and 2 or 3 weeks after our opener, and everybody's frustrated. The deer must have went all to the oaks. Man, the oak crop was crazy. Well, 2 weeks ago, people are talking about how many oaks aren't here, and now everybody's talking about how many oaks are there, and the deer almost went there because there's no deer and they're not seeing anything. Um, uh, yeah, oak trees don't make an abundance of mass crop overnight. It's a very frustrating piece of the puzzle because, like I said, guys, not taking anything from anybody or pointing fingers, but there's so much to be learned and taught from that. So September openers, Wyoming, big ground. Maybe they don't experience it as much, right? Uh, Kentucky, September opener. Wisconsin, a mid-September opener. They have a September lull. October opener states have an October lull. So is there something food connected to that where some things change? Yeah, there's a little bit of that, right? But it's not, it's a lull is not focused or all because of food source is changing. It's because we forced the deer to be where they don't want to be, and we're chasing that, and the chase is on now, and now these deer are scattered out all over. It also has a piece of the puzzle, which is a totally separate video, but has a piece of the puzzle of the switch that you hear of. You know, I've got deer here, guys, that have been here all summer, that have been here for 4 years now, that if they do leave, they don't go very far, and they're back. So is the switch affect me as much as it affects somebody down the road? Absolutely not. Do I get deer that come in October from here? Absolutely. That I don't see until, October. Absolutely. But the majority of my deer have been here. They're either here all the time in the summer, or they have been here at some point during the summer and they are coming back. So it's not just automatically come from 2 miles and find Josh's farm because this is where I want to live. No, it's because there's no pressure here, and some farms around us, right? There's no pressure here. They figure it out. They settle into areas where they don't continuously get bumped and bumped and bumped. So then you throw the corn harvest and they're taking away some cover and some food, stuff like that. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle involved in the switch. But if you're adding to if you're fueling the fire by just opening or just hunting opening day, if you get to the evening of day one and you've got 2 sits in, you really need to question, was that the right move? Now, farther north you go, maybe this is a little more viable, right? Maybe there's a little more to be said for that. So, should you hunt opening morning and opening night if you're in, from mid to northern Michigan? Maybe. Reason is because it's better temperatures. So there's a reason for that. But just to hunt, right? It is not the thing to do. So, especially if you're in a high pressure state, you're just compounding the problem. So all of these right here, guys, are September problems, are fixes, or tricks, or tips. And it also ties into some opening stuff that you got going on here in October, because we could probably clone this situation and go into October. Now, there's going to be some things on the October board here that are going to be different than September, because of the month itself, right, and per region. But a lot of this is going to happen again in October, right? So really focus on what you're doing. Watch your steps. Every step counts right now. That whole slogan that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. There's a lot of truth to be said in that, and a lot of things of life. But hunting in September and early October is definitely one of those to think about. So it's we got a long, great season ahead of us, guys. Don't wear yourself out. Don't wear the properties out. Think about all this stuff the next time that you have something to do, whether that's a card pull, filling feeders. Should I be hunting the evening hunt? What should I be focusing on? Water? Do I have EHD? All of this ties into having something left going into the rest of the season. So, yeah. On a positive note, a more positive note, we got some great weather coming here. Looks like within a week or two, I can really see the downslide. We're like 90 degrees in Kentucky right now. Downslide of that, and we got a little taste of it about a week ago, which sparked my first evening hunt. And then looking ahead to the end of September, 1st of October, it looks like, knock on wood, it looks like we've got some good weather coming around the nation, probably as a whole. So be ready for it. But in order to be ready and take advantage of that situation, don't do some of these things that are going to blow that. They'll blow that positive hunt, take an 80% chance hunt maybe, and make it a 2 to 5% hunt that we speak of, just by being a little too aggressive. Thanks, guys.